It was a silent night over Earth's sky, but something strange was moving through the stars. A dark, silver ship floated quietly just outside Earth's orbit. No lights, no warning, no message. It looked like a shadow in space, watching the planet below. Inside the ship, a young alien girl stood near a wide glass window. Her skin had a soft glow, her eyes bright like two blue flames. She looked beautiful, almost human, but there was something dangerous in her smile. Her name was Zura, and she was not here for peace. Zura was a scout from a far alien empire. Her job was to study new species and test their strength. If she found them strong and worthy, they were left alone. If not, her people would come and take everything. But Zura was different from others of her kind. She was curious, wild, and did not follow rules. She liked challenges. She liked breaking things just to see how people reacted. This time, she came alone, and no one even knew she had arrived. Late at night, over a city full of tall buildings and quiet roads, a sudden flash appeared in the sky. No one noticed it, but one man was watching, Commander Ray Carter, a special agent trained to handle unknown threats. Ray had seen strange things in his life. Robots gone wrong, black holes opened by mistake, alien bugs trying to eat satellites. But tonight, something felt different. He was sitting in his dark room, watching satellite feeds. When the system blinked, one satellite lost power, then another, then three more. Ray's screen showed a small dot moving fast over the city, too fast for anything normal. He stood up and whispered, "We've got company, far above." Zura jumped from her ship without fear. Her body shimmered as she activated her cloak. She landed on a building rooftop without a sound. No one saw her, no one felt her, but she was there, watching, smiling. She started moving through the city, exploring streets, buildings, and people. She used her alien tech to open locked doors, to control security systems. She didn't hurt anyone, not yet, but she wanted to test their limits. She caused power cuts, made cameras loop, and erased herself from every record. But Ray was smarter than most. He didn't rely on normal tech. He used old-school tricks, maps, signals, motion sensors, and his gut told him the visitor was already here. He followed the strange power surges to a closed mall in the city. Everything was dark, too quiet. As he entered the building, his ears picked up a soft hum, alien energy. He held his stun blade tight and moved slowly. Suddenly, something moved on the upper floor. He looked up and saw a glowing shadow standing on the railing. It was her, Zura, looking down at him with a smile. She wasn't afraid. She was amused, human. She said in a smooth, clear voice, "You found me impressive." Ray didn't answer. He just aimed his weapon. But before he could act, Zura jumped. She fell down and then vanished mid-air. No sound, no trace. Only a soft laugh echoing through the mall. Ray ran to where she was standing, but she was gone. He touched the spot and found a strange mark glowing on the floor, a symbol he had never seen before, slowly fading into the ground. He picked up a small piece of metal near it, alien material, cold and humming. "This is not just a visitor," he said to himself. "This is a test." Outside, the city lights returned to normal. People woke up the next morning without knowing anything had happened. But Ray knew someone had arrived, someone powerful, someone dangerous. Zura stood on top of another building far away. She watched Ray through her lens, her smile growing wider. "This one's different," she said softly. "This might be fun." And with that, she disappeared again, her next move already in mind. The game had begun, and Earth had no idea what was coming. The night was quiet again, but Ray Carter knew better. Silence didn't mean safety anymore. Not after what he saw. Not after the girl vanished into thin air. He hadn't slept, not even for a minute. The image of that glowing alien symbol still burned in his mind. Ray stood in his lab, staring at a hologram of the alien metal. It pulsed slowly, like it was alive. It wasn't from Earth. No doubt about that. But what worried him more was the Symbol it left behind, a warning, or maybe an invitation, far away. In the dark shadows of the city, Zura moved through empty streets. No cloak this time. She didn't care about hiding anymore. She wanted him to find her. She wanted to see what humans would do when pushed. She slipped into an old factory, long abandoned, filled with rust and silence. She touched a wall, and the whole place lit up with alien energy. Machines started moving. Sparks flew, metal bent and reshaped. She was building something. Or maybe just playing. She liked to break things and rebuild them in strange ways back. At command, Ray's old gear picked up a strange pulse. A location. Finally, he grabbed his coat, his weapon, and his instincts. It was time to meet her, properly this time. The factory doors creaked open as Ray stepped in. Dust floated in. The air like fog. He moved slowly, eyes scanning everything. No sign of her. But the hum of energy was loud now, like a heartbeat. Suddenly, a machine behind him burst into life. He turned fast. Nothing there, just gears turning by themselves. Then he heard it. A soft voice from above. "Took you long enough, human." Zura stood on a broken metal beam high above, her hair glowing faintly in the dark. Her arms crossed like a queen. Ray raised his weapon, but didn't shoot. "You've been busy," he said calmly. "I get bored easily," she replied. Jumping down effortlessly, she landed just a few feet from him, not even flinching. "You're not like the others," she said, walking around him, circling. "Most humans would run, or scream, or beg. I'm not most humans," Ray replied. Zura laughed, a cold, sharp sound. "That's what I'm hoping for," she said, and in a flash she struck. Ray barely dodged her first attack. A quick swipe of her glowing fingers. The air cracked with energy. He countered with his stun blade. Slashing at her, she moved like wind, fast and light, dancing around him. Their fight was fast, chaotic, and short. Ray landed a hit. Just a scratch on her arm. It surprised her, and for the first time, she stepped back. "You actually touched me," she said, almost impressed. Ray pointed his weapon at her, breathing hard. "Stand down," he ordered. But she only smiled, then raised her hand and released a blinding flash. Ray shielded his eyes, but when the light faded, she was gone again. The only thing left behind was another symbol, burned into the wall. This time it looked like a clock or a countdown. Ray touched it, and it buzzed softly. Something was coming, something timed. He sent the image to HQ for decoding, but deep inside, he knew. This wasn't just a game, this was a message. The alien girl wasn't testing their tech, she was testing their will, their spirit, their patience. Zura watched him from a distance. Hidden once more, she touched the scratch on her arm and smiled. "Not bad, Ray," she whispered. "Let's see how long you can last." As dawn approached, Ray walked away from the factory with a heavy mind. He had fought many enemies, but this was different. This enemy was clever, powerful, and playful. And the worst part, she hadn't even tried yet. The world was still sleeping when the sky changed color. Just for a second, a flash of deep red spread across the clouds like a silent alarm. It vanished before anyone could blink. No thunder, no lightning, just a strange, quiet shift. But in the control room deep beneath Earth's surface, the alarm didn't stay silent. Sirens blared. Screens flashed. Satellites stopped responding. One by one, systems went dark. Not destroyed, just turned off like someone had flipped a switch. Commander Ray Carter stared at the wall of dead screens. He had seen EMPs, solar flares, hacker attacks, but this was different. Clean, precise, intentional. "She's sending a message," he said quietly. "She wants our attention." He wasn't wrong at that very moment. Across every global communication device, phones, TVS, satellites, aircraft panels, even coffee machines, a signal played. The same message, imperfect, chilling English, a woman's voice, cold, calm, and clear. "This is not an invasion. This is a measurement." Your world has been marked. Your strength will be tested. Failure means extinction. People all over the planet froze in fear, confusion, and silence. But Ray didn't freeze. He stood up. His heart steady, his mind racing. Zura was no longer hiding. She wanted the world to know she was here. And she wanted a reaction, in a hidden chamber. Earth's global leaders gathered in panic. Some wanted to launch nukes, others begged for negotiations. But Ray stood in the shadows, watching them argue like scared children. He had seen her up close, had fought her, had felt her energy. She doesn't want war, he said, stepping forward. She wants to judge us. The room went silent. All eyes on him, Ray continued. She's testing our fear, our unity, our limits. If we panic, we fail. If we fight without thinking, we lose everything. But not everyone believed him. A military general shouted, "She threatened us, and you want to sit and talk?" Ray looked him straight in the eyes. She didn't destroy anything, she just turned it off. She could have done more. Meanwhile, Zura floated above a tall mountain, arms stretched wide. Her hair blew like fire in the cold air. She watched the panic below, the flashing lights, the running soldiers, the collapsing systems. And she laughed softly. "This is how they react," she whispered to herself. Fear before thought, noise before silence, but one face stayed. In her mind, Ray's, he didn't break, he didn't beg. He fought. Suddenly, her bracelet blinked, showing her Earth's Defense Council in a live feed. She smiled and whispered, "Let me make it personal." The screens in the control room lit up again. This time, her face appeared, not hidden, not disguised. Zura stood tall, glowing softly with otherworldly light. "Commander Ray Carter," she said, looking directly into the camera. "You interest me. Meet me alone. No weapons, no tricks. Or your world will learn what judgment truly means." Then the screen turned black, and the countdown began to 24 hours. Ticking down slowly, Ray stared at the screen, his jaw tight. Everyone else argued again, shouting orders and threats. But Ray had already decided. "I'll go," he said, "alone." Silence fell once more. One man against an alien force. But this wasn't about weapons or war anymore. This was personal. Zura sat quietly on a floating rock, watching the timer in the sky. She had given Earth a choice. Now she waited to see what kind of creature Ray truly was. The desert was silent, wide, and endless. No birds, no wind, no life. Only heat rising from the sand and a ticking clock inside Commander Ray Carter's head. He stood alone in the middle of that emptiness. No backup, no drones, no guns. Only a small tracker on his chest blinking red, broadcasting his heartbeat to the command center far away. But no one could help him now. This was not a mission. Not a war. It was something else. A meeting between two beings from different worlds. One human, one alien, and 1,000 unspoken questions between them. Zura arrived without sound. 1 second the sky was empty, the next she stood there, barefoot, calm, glowing under the harsh sun. Her expression was unreadable, like a queen stepping onto a battlefield just to be entertained. Ray didn't move, didn't flinch. She walked toward him slowly, the sand never touching her feet. "I knew you'd come," she said, her voice soft but sharp like glass. "I had to," Ray replied. "You threatened my planet." Zura tilted her head slightly. "I tested it. There's a difference." He stared at her, trying to read her face. But she didn't blink, didn't breathe the way humans did. Everything about her was still, like time stopped around her. She lifted one hand and motioned him forward. "No weapons, remember," she said. "This is not a fight, not yet." Ray stepped forward, slowly, carefully. "Then what is it?" he asked. "A game?" Zura smiled, but there was no warmth in it. "It's a lesson," she said, "to see if your kind deserves what it claims, survival." Before Ray could answer, the ground beneath them cracked. Out of nowhere, metal arms shot up from the sand. Alien machines, old and buried. Ray jumped back just in time, landing in a combat stance. Zura's smile widened. Surprise. The machines didn't attack her, only Ray. They moved fast, like snakes made of steel, spinning and slicing through the air. Ray dodged left, rolled under a spinning blade, and used a broken pipe to knock one off balance. He moved with focus, no panic, no hesitation. Every step was calculated, every breath steady. Zura watched him closely, her eyes glowing brighter. He grabbed a shard of metal from the ground and used it to block a strike, then jammed it into the machine's core, causing a burst of sparks. The others circled him, but he wasn't slowing down. One by one, he disabled the machines. Not with strength, but with timing, patience, and clever moves. He was not just fighting, he was adapting, learning as he moved. Zura raised a hand and the machines froze. The dust settled, silence returned. Ray stood in the middle, breathing hard but steady, his shirt torn, arms scratched, but still standing. Zura stepped forward again, looking into his eyes. "I could have killed you," she said, "but you didn't." Ray replied, "Because this was a test." She nodded slowly. "And you passed." She raised her hand again, and something small floated between them, a silver band glowing with symbols. She placed it around her own neck, and instantly her glow faded. Her body weakened. Ray stepped back, confused. "What did you do?" "I lowered my power," she said. "Now we are equal." "Why?" he asked. She walked past him, looking at the broken machines. "Because it's time to teach," she said, "and to learn." "I challenged your body," she added. "Now I will challenge your mind." Ray looked at her, unsure if it was a trick. But one thing was clear. This wasn't over. It had only changed as the sun sank behind the dunes. Both figures stood alone in the orange light. No longer enemies, not yet allies, but something in between. Zura's voice echoed in the wind. "You survived the fire. Now let's see if you can survive the truth." The stars looked closer that night. They hung in the sky like silent witnesses, watching a lesson begin that no weapon could deliver. Not with fists, not with fire, but with something far more powerful, understanding. Zura sat alone in a glass-walled chamber, deep inside Earth's hidden research base. No chains, no prison bars. Just silence and a dull blue light above her head. The power limiter on her neck hummed softly, reminding her she was not in control anymore. Commander Ray stood on the other side of the glass, arms crossed, eyes steady. He wasn't here as a soldier today. He was here as a teacher, maybe even as a mirror. She watched him with quiet eyes. Gone was her mocking smile, gone was her playful arrogance, but not her pride. That still stood tall like a wall between them. "You said we failed your test," Ray said finally, breaking the silence. "But you didn't come here to judge, you came here to provoke." Zura raised an eyebrow. "You think humans don't need to be pushed? You hide behind technology, comfort, and fear. And you hide behind power," Ray replied calmly. "Let's see who's braver without it." That's when the discipline began. But not the kind she expected. No shouting, no violence. Instead, Ray walked her through places she never thought to see. First, a hospital, where human doctors worked around the clock to save lives with tired hands and soft hearts. Then, a school, where children from different countries learned to sit beside each other, laugh together, dream together. Later, a shelter, where strangers gave food to those they didn't know and hugged people they'd never met. Zura didn't say much, but her eyes were no longer cold. One night, they sat in a quiet garden inside the base. No guards, no walls, just stars above and soft wind. Ray handed her a cup of tea. She took it slowly, like it was a new type of weapon she didn't understand. "Why show me this?" she asked. "You know I can destroy it all if I wanted." Ray looked at her and said, "Because strength isn't how much you can destroy. It's how much you choose to protect." For the first time she looked down, not in defeat, but in thought. Something was changing, not in her powers, but in her heart. Later that night, alarms rang suddenly. Ray rushed toward the control center. A child had gone missing, wandered out through a weak gate into the cold forest beyond the base. Soldiers panicked, trackers failed, the child's signal was fading fast, but someone else moved without permission. Zura, she had escaped her chamber, left her limiter behind, within minutes. She flew into the forest, faster than any human eye could follow. She didn't do it to win, or to show off. She did it because she felt something she never expected. Care. Ray found her minutes later. Landing softly with the crying child in her arms, she handed him over silently and turned away, but Ray called her name. "Why?" he asked. "Why break your own rules?" Zura looked at the stars, her voice low. "Because I saw something in that child. He trusted the dark, just like you trust me now." Ray didn't speak. He didn't need to. Her actions said more than words ever could, in her empty chamber. The limiter sat untouched. She didn't need it anymore. Because something stronger now held her in place. Choice. Zura stared at her reflection in the glass. Not a conqueror, not a queen, but something new. Something she didn't yet understand. The discipline had worked, not by force, but by showing her the one thing her world had forgotten: humanity. Asterisk. The truth didn't come with thunder or fire. It came with a whisper, soft and cold. Just before sunrise, Zura stood barefoot on the grass, watching the earth breathe beneath a purple sky. She had seen 1,000 worlds, burned a dozen with her hands. But this one, this planet of flawed creatures and wild emotions, refused to break the way others did. Behind her, Commander Ray Carter approached slowly. No weapons, no mask. Just a quiet man walking toward a moment he couldn't fully understand. "You're different," she said without turning. "Not because you're strong, but because you still hope. Even when you lose." Ray stopped beside her. "Is that why you came? To steal our hope?" She looked at him, her face unreadable. "No," she replied. "I came to destroy your weakness." Ray stayed quiet, letting her speak. The air felt heavy, like a storm about to form between stars. Zura's voice dropped lower. "My people don't believe in peace," she said. "We believe in filters. We send scouts to test civilizations. If they survive the test, we leave. If they fail, we erase them." Ray's jaw tightened. "So Earth is your next target?" "It was," she replied. "Until you." He looked at her. "Carefully, what changed?" "You," she said softly. "The way you fought me without hate. The way you faced death to save a child you didn't know. The way you didn't give up on me." Ray stepped forward. "So now what? Do you go back and lie to them?" Zura smiled faintly. "Lying to my kind is worse than death, but telling the truth is worse than war." She walked toward a tree and placed her hand on its bark. "I'll send a report," she said. "But it won't be simple," he frowned. "What does that mean?" Zura turned to face him, eyes brighter than before. "It means I'll tell them Earth is unstable, too dangerous to destroy, too unpredictable to control, which means they'll delay. They'll watch. They'll hesitate." Ray understood the risk. "You'll put yourself in danger," Zura nodded. "Yes, but I've seen enough to believe Earth deserves more time." Then her bracelet lit up. A soft pulsing blue. An incoming signal, not a message. Not a check-in, a threat. A rogue faction had intercepted her silence, and they were coming. She turned to Ray with urgency. "They don't care about tests," she said. "They just want destruction." "How many?" Ray asked. "3 warships," she replied. "Hours away." Ray didn't hesitate. "Then we stop them." Zura stepped closer. "We?" He looked her in the eye. "You're not Earth's enemy anymore. Now you're its only hope." That night, alarms rang not in fear, but in purpose. Earth's defense forces prepared, led by a woman not born on Earth. Zura moved through command halls like a shadow with a plan, teaching humans how to fight something they had never faced before. Ray stood beside her, tired but ready. He didn't fully trust her, but something inside him knew this was her fight too now. As stars blinked above, 3 enemy ships appeared in Earth's sky. The countdown had returned, but this time it didn't mark judgment. It marked resistance. Zura looked at Ray, her voice firm. "We fight as one." He nodded. Then let's show them what humanity means. War didn't start with explosions. It started with a whisper, a moment of stillness before the storm, above Earth. The sky cracked open like glass. 3 alien warships descended slowly, glowing like silent gods made of fire and steel. In the control room below, Ray stood still, his hands clenched beside him. Zura stared at the screens, her face calm but her eyes burning. "They won't listen," she said. "They won't stop unless we make them," Ray nodded. "Then let's make them." A team was already waiting, soldiers, scientists, engineers, ready for battle. But they weren't just trusting machines. They were trusting her, an alien girl who once came to test them, and now stood ready to protect them. Zura led the launch from Earth's upper platform. As the shuttle lifted into the dark, she looked back one last time. The planet below was no longer her target. It was her choice. The warships above opened their weapons slowly. No warnings, no words, only lights. Red, bright, deadly. Zura's shuttle reached orbit, dodging the first wave of plasma fire. Ray was with her, strapped into the co-pilot seat, holding tight. "Tell me you have a plan," he said. Zura smirked. "No, I have a message." She opened a private link to the lead warship. A language of symbols and light began flashing between ships. They warned her. They called her a traitor. They promised silence. Through destruction, Zura stood, unbuckled, and walked to the ship's center. She placed her hands on the core panel and whispered something ancient. The shuttle began to pulse, not with weapons, but with signal. A wide-frequency pulse shot out from the ship like a wave, not to kill, but to speak. She sent them the truth. All of it. The footage of humanity risking its life for others. Children sharing food, soldiers helping strangers. Ray saving her when he didn't have to. A pause followed. No shots, no reply, just silence. Then fire. One of the ships ignored the message and opened fire directly on Earth. Zura reacted instantly, launching herself from the shuttle in a flash of blue energy. She struck the weapon mid-air, using her body to twist the beam away from the planet. The explosion lit up the sky like a second sun. Ray screamed her name. But all he saw was light fading, and her falling like a star through the darkness. Hours later, Earth was still standing. 2 warships had retreated. One was gone, destroyed in the blast. Zura redirected. Ray walked through a quiet field, carrying something in his hands, her power band. No one had found her, no body, no trace, just silence and sky. People called her a savior, the girl who came to judge and chose to protect. But Ray didn't believe she was gone, not truly, somewhere in the stars. She was watching, waiting, deciding again, and then, weeks later, in the middle of a silent night, a small glowing symbol appeared on Ray's window, the same one she left the first time. But this time, it pulsed gently, like a heartbeat. Ray smiled for the first time in days. "Guess you're not done with us yet," he whispered. In the black silence of space, a shadow moved near a moon. Soft blue eyes opened. A familiar voice whispered into the dark. "This time, they will not face the test alone.